Good Monday afternoon to you. Welcome to the John Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH. It's a pleasure to be with you. Sorry for the little technical difficulty. I take full responsibility. It's a Monday, bro. It is a Monday.
It's been that way all day today, too.
It really has, hasn't it? I know. It's
Yes,
just
yes,
one thing
yes.
after the other. I've heard that from more than one person today. Oh, my goodness.
I need to
Great
work
to be with you,
out
Dr.
or
Dennis Sanchez, the
yeah.
AI doctor. What's that?
I need to
What'd
either
you say?
work out or have a couple of drinks.
There you go. There you go. Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah, who
Yeah.
knows? Reward yourself. That's it. I like it. All right, folks. Well, anyways, let's get this party started here. Get things moving here because we got Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor, joining us as he does each and every Monday. Bro, what a topic you have created for today's show. I love this one. Here we are, December the 15th, couple weeks remaining in the year. And you said, you know what? Let's talk about all of the top, well, not all, the top 5 AI innovations for 2025. I thought that was a great idea to kind of refresh everybody's memory how far we've really come, because maybe because you joined us on the show this year or whatever, but obviously I have in our staff, everybody using AI significantly more this year thanks to you than ever before, and the training you have provided to us and the knowledge, etc., give you full credit for it. And so I love this topic. And again, it's so excited about what 2026 is gonna be in store for us also.
Well, it was really difficult actually to nail this one down because it's so big. And when you start looking at all the different benefits that have improved with these products, and you can see, you take a step back, they are in competition with each other. They're outdoing each other all the time. And I think we're all consumers that are benefiting by that.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. And as we have said, and many people smarter than us have said, there's going to be a few standing. There's not going to be anywhere near the number of companies that have made a foray into the world of AI. There'll be the powerful ones standing. There'll be a few names that, are starting to surface now, or names, again, that we don't even know about at this point. But the field, I guess, will be, you've been in tech so long, your whole life, basically. And you tell me if I'm wrong. The way this always works is you get everybody, trying to make a name for themselves, make money, go IPO, do all the things they do, come out with new products and services. And then, a few, will not make it. Actually, quite a few will not make it. And, I don't know if you saw the story today, but before I get your opinion, today was a prime example, or actually it happened over the weekend. Have you ever used, do you guys in your house have an iRobot? The little vacuum that runs around on its own?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was me.
No?
I am the iRobot.
You are the iRobot. Okay. Very good. Well, I have tried it a few times. I was not impressed with it. It spent more time bumping into furniture and the dog chasing it than I ever had any success. So I've tried it a couple times. But the reason I'm bringing that up is iRobot filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy over the weekend. And so here was a name that became extremely popular, and a product that became extremely popular during the pandemic, right? It was like they could do no wrong. Their stock did amazing, so on and so forth. And here we are today. Again, unfortunately, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Stock finished down 76.16% today, $3.28 loss to $1.04 a share. They do have a buyer. One of their lenders, a big Japanese company, is coming in and I guess purchasing, what's left of the company, et cetera, for, the valuation was, multi-billions during the pandemic, and now it's a few hundred, million dollars. It's just, I saw the numbers this morning, Dennis, and I'm like, wow, just amazing. So anyways, to my point, there'll always be survivors, but there'll be a lot of carnage along the highway.
That's very interesting that it's a consumer product. And I think we're really just starting to see AI get into consumer products, and there will be more robots. I can guarantee it. Sometimes it's not best to be the first one in the category, right? And I think they were one of the first. I think it was more.
And what's interesting, it's a great point you bring up. They cited the primary reason, number one, slow down after the pandemic as far as the consumers buying the product. But more importantly, Japan, due to their technology and AI and everything else, they created a competing product that was extremely popular in Asia, and then I guess found its way here into the US, and it just wiped out their market share and obviously their profitability. So, and that happens in AI, right? We're going to see the same thing.
It's interesting you said that you're really talking almost like it's a social robot. The Japanese have actually been a leader in that consumer market. I'm talking about a robot that is in your house.
You're talking actual
Actually,
robots, not the vacuum
natural,
robot. Yeah.
yeah, not I
Yeah.
mean, one that
Yeah.
actually they created it to keep their grandparents company, because there's a large
How
generation where the
funny, huh?
grandparents all got, so they're companions. They talk, they remind them of their meds and
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that.
Yep, yep, exactly. And I'm sure it's not long. I mean, we know Elon Musk and many others are trying to do that here in the U.S. I think it'll be a little bit slower to adapt here in the U.S., but I definitely see it. I don't know what we're going to be doing in our lives, Dennis, because as you'll discuss here, one of the great things that really came about in 2025 as far as AI is, the basically the chat bot, right? In
Hmm.
the ability to carry on conversations and handle so many tasks that human beings do. And so we know that's only going to continue to expand and grow dramatically over the next few years. So we'll have that to handle our daily lives and all the tasks, mundane tasks that we don't like to do, like emails and composing letters and so on and so forth. And people we don't want to talk to, we'll just let the chat bot do it. And then we'll go home and you'll have the robot that'll make your dinner, have your house all clean, and so on and so forth. So we're just going to become a bunch of lazy slobs as human beings. I'm afraid. I don't know. I don't. That's the part that scares me.
It is supposed to improve our lives. So, it should free up some space so we can do things we really like, spend more time with the family, things like that. So I don't know if that's been proven yet,
Exactly.
to be honest, but we're on our way to at least trying out that big experiment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, enough of that said. So again, as we come back here in a little bit after I do the stock market update, we'll get to our top 5 AI innovations for 2025. In the meantime, let me squeeze in what the heck happened in the market today. We're in this rotation, folks. That's the easiest way to understand what's going on. If you joined me this morning in my early stock updates, pre-market, we're up a couple hundred points on the Dow futures. NASDAQs were up triple digits, 140, 150 range, right around there. Market opens up, we start to drift lower, lower, and then we just sold off extremely heavy. Speaking of the AI names, we started to see a bit of rotation again, or continue to see the rotation again out of a lot of the AI names. Um, and even some of the major tech names. Now, I'll say, you can't talk tech without talking NVIDIA. It was one of the bright spots of the day, the semiconductors in general. It rose $1.10, 176.12. Again, all of these had a rough week last week. But you get into the names like Broadcom today, another sell off, down $20.07, a 5.58% loss to 339.86. Oracle selling, continuing there, down $5.15. 2.71% loss to 184.82. Remember last week, of course, those were weak as they had been a few weeks ago. Then they rebounded. Now we're going through this rotation again regarding valuations and AI spend and all these different things. Even Apple got sucked into the realm today. They've kind of been sitting on the sidelines in this tech sell-off these last few days. Not today, down $4.08 on Apple, 1.47% loss to 274.20. Want to throw in Service now, post a wider than expected loss. They traded lower. $100.39 decline, down 11.6%, $764.67. Google was down $1.22. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So as I mentioned on one of my updates this morning, I'll of course mention it right now. What you want to do at this point, don't panic. Use this as a buying opportunity. We are very, very confident, at least our opinion, that we're going to go through this rotation. And as Jason and I were discussing as we were strategizing our clients' portfolios today, what we've seen happen, at least this is, I think, the third time this year we've seen this rotation all of a sudden happen out of tech and into consumer discretionary, consumer staples, etc. It doesn't tend to last very long. So what you want to do is you want to start looking at your buy list, right? Just creating that buy list of those tech names that maybe you wanted to get into and maybe you felt they were too expensive, or the share price was too high, whatever the reason was. A lot of those names, check them on a daily basis, intraday, matter of fact, because a lot of those names, as I just mentioned, are coming down dramatically. We still think we're going to get a very strong finish to 2025. We got to get through this rotation. And when it turns around, remember, it happens very quickly. It doesn't necessarily have to happen in the pre-market. You can literally be selling off mid-session, and all of a sudden, here come the buyers. The algorithms will kick in, and we'll go back to where we were before this the sell-off happened. So nothing significant at this point. It is painful. Luckily, the Dow recovered a bit today, but a little bit weak on the NASDAQ side, which I'll tell you about when we come back. Let's turn it over to Kristen Snow. She's in the Right Now Traffic Center. Hello, Kristen. Welcome back to the John Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH with my brother, Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. All right, like I said, it was a volatile session today. Not all that bad on the Dow side compared to where we were and where we finished, as I always like to say. 41-point decline on the Dow was the closing numbers. That was just a fraction of a percent loss, obviously. 48,416 was our close. Nasdaq down 138 points, 0.69%, closing at 23,057, and the S&P lower by 11 points to close at 6,816. On the commodity side of things, gave up just 4 cents on oil. 14 cents on oil to a price of 56.82 a barrel. Gold up $7.90, 4,335.56 an ounce. And over to the 10-year Treasury, it was quiet there, down just 1 basis point on the 10-year to yield close of 4.18%. Last thing I want to mention on the market before we get to our topic, the top 5 AI innovations for 2025. This has been one thing that's been moving the market, good or bad, depending upon how you look at it. But the president today did say that his search for the next Federal Reserve Chairman nominee is down to, as the street anticipated, National Economic Director Kevin Hassett and former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh. Hassett had been viewed as the frontrunner in recent weeks, but has faced some criticism over concerns that he may lack independence from President Trump. Gee, what a shock there. Wow, no kidding. And then Warsh seems to be, he'll still be influenced in my opinion, but I don't think, definitely not as bad as Kevin Hassett. So we'll see what happens, but at least down there. And again, we're supposed to have a decision after the first of the year, or could be right after Christmas. It's still kind of up in the air, according to the president. All right, you're now up to date on the market. Let's get a head start into our topic, bro. 2025, how would you, before we get to our top 5 AI innovations, how would you classify, in your professional opinion, being in the tech industry for 30 plus years, was this a successful year? Was this a year where you expected more success? Kind of give me your personal opinion, first of all.
Well, I think we're still seeing so many new products. And then you're also starting to see what I would call the big three: Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI, especially in generative AI space, really pick up the development speed. And so you're expecting, if you are an organization, you've invested in these products, you're seeing changes all the time, which is really difficult because you've just trained everybody on a certain set of features and things like that, and all of a sudden it changes. And every time I open up, especially Copilot, I'm seeing new things. So that it's the pace of change, we're seeing it. But I think what we're going to see in 2026 is these products are going to have to prove their worth. And there's still questions of, do they really make sense? Are they delivering what they promised? Productivity and efficiency gains. And that question's still unanswered.
Well, let's tie that into the monetary side. I completely agree with you. Let's tie it into the monetary side. Wall Street is going to want to see these products, start generating revenue. Now, I'm encouraged when you look at OpenAI, which again is, of course, not publicly traded yet, or if ever. They seem to be getting more into the revenue generating ideas, right? They signed a deal with Shopify, and it seems like there's just a lot of Disney just last week, a lot of different things going on there. But I'm not hearing anything from your favorite, which is Copilot, a Microsoft product. How about you?
No, in fact, I would say about this time last year when I was working at Microsoft, I felt very strongly that we were going to hit a point where it was all going to, what is going to hit the fan, because we weren't seeing the interest in the field with customers wanting to renew or buy a large number of licenses, which is always an indicator of what is that going to look like in the future. And that's still kind of going on. They're still trying to find the magic bullet of, show me that it's really, producing all these results.
Right.
We know it's helping. We know it's making people more efficient. But when you're trying to sell this to the CEO and she's looking for that kind of proof, it's difficult.
ROI.
I can't tell you how many times I was asked, can you come up with some magical formula that shows, it worked like that? And it's very difficult.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that's fascinating. And again, you and I and Jason, I'll throw him into the conversation. When you first started joining us on the show months ago, remember that was one of our original conversations.
Yeah.
How do you quantify, and again, ROI AI, right? We all know it's making lives easier. Not even, I shouldn't say easier. I guess you can say easier, more productive in a lot of the workplaces. Still a fraction of only adapted AI. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know all the savings and everything that it's going to do, because again, we're just in our infancy stages of this. But I think it comes down to, using the CEO example, you look at the capital outlay for the program, or whatever services you're going to utilize with it. And then, again, then each company's got to quantify, does this make sense? But on the flip side, which is, if I'm the CEO of a major corporation, I'm going to go, if I don't adapt it, I'm going to be
Right.
left behind. And like you said, I'll
Yeah.
never catch up, right? It's going so fast. So it's a real quandary. I think we're just kind of between a rock and a hard spot right now. But I think next year you're going to start seeing a little bit more clarity and hopefully, hearing companies. I think this is the other thing too, Dennis, is when we have earnings releases from publicly traded companies, if we start to hear or see in the financials, increase in productivity, lower headcount, that type of thing, then I think a lot of it will be, we can go, okay, that's attributed to AI and the adoption by the company. But right now, yeah, not quite there.
It'll
A lot
be
of money
really
being spent.
interesting also to see if some of these companies, and I would be looking for little changes, like little secret changes in their marketing strategies. And
Mm,
for example, Microsoft, if all of a sudden they're not talking about Copilot so much, and like one of the examples that I saw this year is they started bundling Copilot with M365 in some
right, right,
markets in no extra charge. So
right,
we could
right.
easily see it eventually as just another set of features and benefits that are
I
included, whether
agree.
you like it or not, which
Yep,
is the way a lot of their products made the market.
absolutely. I
And then
agree
all of a
100%
sudden,
with you.
in that same move, you would see more of an emphasis on agents. And that will be interesting too, because that is, you can measure results much more easily, ROI results with agents. But, there's more competition in that market. There are lots of agents that aren't built by some of the major companies.
Can we touch on that just briefly when we come back from the break, and then we'll get into our five, because I think you're onto something with these agents. Let's expand that a little bit further. Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor, a very special guest as he is each and every Monday. Let's turn it over to Jack Saban. He's got news, traffic, and weather. Welcome back to the John Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH with Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. All right, we're going to get to our topic: the top 5 AI innovations in 2025. But first, recap of the day. Again, 41-point loss on the Dow. NASDAQ gave up 138. The S&P down 11. A little rotation out of the AI names. How funny that you're on the show today, Dennis, when we're talking about that. All right, before we get to this list, I want to hit two things very quickly. Number one, I want to give everybody a little bit of idea. We were talking before we went to the break about the AI spend, right? The return on investment. When are these companies going to start to see it? How are they going to measure it? So on and so forth. Folks, the amount of money that just the major names are spending is absolutely staggering. And again, this is what's going on right now. People are, investors, I should say, are questioning, are they spending too much money? And that's the bottom line. Here's an idea. Give you an idea real quick. According to Statista, all of the major big players, Microsoft, Google, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, etc., they're forecast to spend between $350 to $400 billion this year on AI related capital expenditures, mostly on data centers, cloud infrastructure, and AI compute power. And then remember, we're talking significant money even for these big boys. Individually, Microsoft, this is according to 8 figures. Microsoft's projected to spend around $120 billion on AI infrastructure and cloud computing. Recently, they announced $23 billion in new AI investments, most of it focused on cloud and AI infrastructure, including major projects in India and globally.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon AWS estimated to spend 100 to 120 billion on AI and AWS infrastructure this year, the bulk of it on capital expenditure. It's according to 8 figures. Google, Alphabet, forecasted AI related spend, mostly capital expenditures for data centers and AI compute, about 85 to 93 billion, according to TechBlog. Meta plans to spend about 66 to 2 billion on AI and supporting infrastructure this year, according to 8 figures. And finally, the LA Times reporting that Apple is spending much smaller, which we've all known that. Bloomberg is reporting that they're spending roughly 14 billion on capex tied to AI initiatives. So, Dennis, these are not small numbers by any means. I
No,
mean,
no.
I don't think we're going to see these numbers decline because, like you said in your opening, it's the competition side. None of these companies want to be left behind.
It's kind of like a high stakes poker game, right?
It really
Because
is. It really is.
if you leave the table now,
Yeah.
you might as well just give up, walk
Yeah.
away with and lose all your money.
Well, and what's interesting, we're seeing a lot of executives. Last week, there was a bunch of executives leaving Apple and going to some of these names. And bottom line, we're seeing a shuffle of top talent at all these major tech firms right now, leaving one to go to the other. So I don't know if that's a sign or not.
Well, in my opinion, it is because they know what their company is going to be doing in those spaces. And you have to compare, like, what are we doing versus this offer that I
Right.
have and what they're
Yep.
doing.
Yep.
It's kind of a sign that they're not equal.
Right.
So
Right. Yep.
not a good
Exactly.
thing.
Not a good thing. All right, let's go ahead and get to our list here because time's going quickly. So
Yeah.
Let's go to our uh, top 5 AI innovations for this year. So first one, AI is becoming a personal assistant to all of us.
So first, before we dive into the real quickly, I want to put these in the context of what are probably the three biggest technology trends we really had last year. And you're going to see them really aligned with generative AI. We're all familiar with generative AI, that word that OpenAI made a household word. And that is AI based on the large language model. And, it has the ability
Speak
to
English. A
generate
lot of people don't know what all that is about that.
it's LLM.
Yeah.
It's a type of language that makes it possible for us to talk to the software, type, and communicate that way instead of coding. We've done away with coding and replaced it with prompting.
There you go. Thank you.
So the big three you're hearing all the time are Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini. There are more than that, but those are the ones. They're backed by big companies and they're moving very, very quickly. You can almost see every time one of them, improves a product.
Yes.
The other ones are either right behind them or really
days
soon.
behind. Yeah, notice
that close. So first, the first category we talked about today is AI becoming a personal assistant. I think this is the year when it's become much more than a personal assistant, more like you're hearing words like a collaborator. And I think that's where it's headed because we're kind of experiencing an arc between what we have today and what's going to be there tomorrow, where it becomes more agentic, meaning that we're using an agent to do a lot of this work instead of us even driving them. So you've already seen a smooth transition, for example, with all of these products. Copilot, you can create agents within Copilot, but you can still do the normal generative AI stuff with the prompting that most people are comfortable with. So much more than a personal assistant. I didn't like that word when it came out 2 years ago because I thought it was already more than that. But really being that extra, in the context of business owners and, when we've talked about solopreneurs and familypreneurs, it's being a lot more. It's being the accountant that, representing those accountant skills that you didn't have access to before, those marketing skills. That's more than an assistant. That's a partner. It's close to an employee. You've heard it referred to, generative AI referred to more like an intern before. Now it's become more of an equal than an intern.
Right. Yeah.
If
not superior in some cases. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I 100% agree, but when we start talking about agents, people's hair on the back of their necks rise. Like, I don't. What is an agent? What is all that? And folks, a prime example of having an agent, whether you're whatever you're using, Copilot or ChatGPT, but this would be something like, again, you can go into any of those programs now. It'll manage your calendar. It'll write emails for you. It'll respond to emails for you. It'll create a list of things to do. It'll plan your trips, your budgets, your schedules. It'll remind you of deadlines. It'll tell you when bills are due. It'll tell you when appointments are due. All these things in life where, again, kind of that, I know you don't like that term, but the personal assistant side, it's starting to do it for us. And now, of course, it's in the phone and everywhere around us. So this one, I'll be honest with you, I haven't got into that side of it yet. I'm really surprised, but I'm excited to, because it's when you get as many emails as I do a day and so on and so forth. It's I'm looking forward to that assistance at some point. Really.
And the great thing is probably already one that's been created, and that's where we already have an inventory of the agents and those processes that we use most commonly.
Right.
I think that's bridging the gap. A year ago, no, you had to create that. But now these companies, they're giving you a set of ones that have already been created, and then they're getting a little bit more sophisticated as they go on. But I want to make the point, everybody's, whether you know, anytime these days, if you're working with a technology company or any modernized company, you're working with an AI-driven chatbot, which is that automatic response, answer, retrieving, guiding you. Some of them, have you noticed how sophisticated they're getting?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like you don't even know.
They even have a name.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Absolutely. All right. When we come back, we'll hustle through, probably just get to our second point. That's going to be about it, unfortunately. How AI is changing how people make money, right? This is something we've been discussing a lot. So glad it made your top 5, Dennis. Let's wrap it up with Kristen Snow right now, Traffic Center. Kristen, welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show with Dr. Dennis Sanchez. All right. We're talking about, again, top 5 AI innovations for 2025. So we got to number one. AI is becoming a great personal assistant in your life. I'm going to read these five to you, and then we're going to come back and probably have time just to discuss the second one. AI is changing how people make money. That's what we'll come back and talk about. Number three, AI is personalizing everything that we see and buy. Number four, AI is becoming a second brain for professionals. Oh, is it ever? And number five, AI is either complementing or, in some cases, hurting search engines. Right? A lot of studies are out right now saying many of you are using your favorite AI model instead of Yahoo or Google or some of the other normal search engines, and that's opening up a whole nother realm of services and potentially income for those companies. So, Dennis, let's talk about how AI is changing how people make money. Right? This is why you and I have spent so much time talking about solopreneurship, familypreneurship, etc. So let's wrap it up with this one.
Well, it automatically gives people hope to see so many people that are successful. They're everywhere. God bless them.
Yes.
And you have to, I've thought, why? Why them and not me? Well, they know how to use the technology. They were there first and they've learned how to master it. So the possibilities just opened up immensely for everyone to pretty much anything that they want. And that because it does level the playing field and allow us to be an expert, gain that expertise by basically turning around and saying, hey, what do you think? What do you think, Copilot? What should I do? What's a good market I should, out of these markets, which one do you think? So if that's what it's doing. It is an enabler for anything possible.
Do you think it will come to a point where ad agencies are non-existent because of AI?
I don't. They're surviving. I'm not an expert in that space, but from what I can see, you had to be on the leading edge of digital marketing. So they probably are still handling the accounts of the large organizations, but those organizations are probably spreading the money around and stuff too. But they're kind of on the leading edge of a lot of this stuff, probably a lot of tools and things that we don't use.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking that is, so last week, what is it called? Solara, I think is the name of it, with ChatGPT, the video making capability. They signed a $1 billion plus deal with Disney, so people can use ChatGPT to make their own personal Disney videos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, $1 billion plus deal. So we know that AI can do, go on the internet, folks, go to YouTube, and I'll tell you, there are some hilarious ones that are being made completely AI generated. President Trump and Joe Biden, they're out there. And I tell you what, it is mind boggling how good they are and how realistic they are, right? So you look at, okay, we've got video capabilities. Obviously, now we know they're and this is such new technology where there's now AI actresses and actors, right? We're seeing that. That was a big takeaway this year. And the list goes on where I'm just wondering at some point, are ad agencies even going to exist anymore? Is Hollywood even going to exist anymore? Right?
10 years as we know it. All of those industries have been impacted, but they'll survive. You have to, there's still
Why are you so confident of that though?
Because we know the difference. But would you rather we might accept watching, for example, avatars in a movie, movie. We know that they're not real. There are already movies like that.
Yeah.
We might accept it because it's free or something like that. It's somewhat entertaining, but wouldn't you rather see your favorite actor or actress be human?
Maybe you and I, being older, we would, but what about
I think
couple generations beneath us? Yeah, I don't know. I'd be terrified to be in that industry.
The reason I say that, because in the workplace, they've already come up with a term called work slop, which is people can tell the difference between when people are using AI too much to write things, and you can see the difference. So we become more prejudiced against, how you're going to be asking, how was it created?
Exactly. I like that. Got to have a disclosure on there.
Yeah.
As always, bro, great pleasure to be with you on this Monday. Have a great day, my friend, and God bless everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on the Jon Sanchez Show. Take care.
Take care.
Jon Sanchez is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management, LLC on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of News Talk 780 or its parent company, Cumulus Media. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and unless otherwise stated are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.